Hello and welcome again to Speedtrap Consulting's review of Garrett, Warner, and IHI turbochargers that are available onto the market. Today we're going to be looking at the GTX3071R that's been introduced to Garrett last year. I know that many people have already seen this particular turbocharger, so this is not going to be anything unique. However, let's just point out a couple of the few features, pros and cons that are available for this turbocharger that's on the market. This is available through any Garrett dealer that's authorized for it to be able to sell this turbocharger. And of course, as we always do with our turbochargers, we always go through our 6 points, which are engine size application, our purpose, power level and characteristics of the turbo, composition, specifications, and of course everyone's favorite price. I kind of like this turbocharger, but it's got a few pros and cons. The engine size application for this is very broad. It's going to be anywhere from a 1.5 to 2.5 liter in a single application, or anywhere up to about 6 liters in a twin turbocharged application. This is going to be anywhere from about 450 to 500 wheel horsepower as a single application, or anywhere up to about 800 to 900 as a twin application. The purpose of this turbo really is Garrett's answer to the billet wheel phenomenon that has really hit the market over the last 2 to 3 years. There used to be only 1 or 2 companies in the aftermarket turbocharger industry that were able to give offerings of a billet compressor wheel. But Garrett decided, in its ultimate wisdom, to be able to offer one themselves. And this one is a unique design that none of the other aftermarket manufacturers have used. And it's also a way for other aftermarket, illegal, counterfeit aftermarket manufacturers that don't put any kind of work into their designs to be able to make it more difficult for it to copy from. So if you'll notice, what we'll do is a lot of people see the standard turbocharger for what it is, which is not a problem, but very few people are able to see really just kind of underneath what's under the cover. Composition of this turbo really is very similar to the rest of the GTR series, with a couple of new changes and nuances. As you can tell, this uses the standard compressor cover, anti-surge portion to help with reversion, because this is made for high rotational speeds, high endurance, road race applications. For those that want to use it for drag race purpose, that's okay, but you're not really going to see a lot of the benefits that come even with the journal bearing turbocharger for those that are going strictly for an 1/8 mile or quarter-mile drag race. It's really made to have a lot of good torque. It's made for a really good person that wants to be able to abuse high pressure ratios on the street, and at the same time be able to use this for time attack, high endurance events, that kind of thing. But the real interesting meat about this is when we take off the compressor cover. So I've already taken off the bolts here. Please excuse these kind of gloves. I'm about to go to some batting practice after this video, so just wanted to make that clear. But here's what the turbo looks like when the cover is actually off. And what I like about this particular turbocharger is the fact that it is a very high structured billet aluminum wheel. I haven't tested the metallurgy of it, if this is 70-75 wheel aluminum or the specific type of aluminum that they use. They may not have those released out to the public, but if there's any questions about it, feel free to give me email at speedtrapconsulting@yahoo.com. The interesting part about this one is the fact that they're using an 11-bladed compressor wheel, as opposed to the single blade, as opposed to the 6-bladed splitter design that's typically used in the standard cast applications as well as in the aftermarket applications. I don't know whether or not they decided to use this to make themselves a bit different from the aftermarket, or there's some other specific design cues that they decided to use. But this is something, in a way, I have some concerns with, simply because of the fact that even though it is set up for anywhere from 56 to almost 58 pounds per minute, the fact is you're using an 11-bladed single blade design. The splitter blade design, the one where you see one blade here and then a smaller blade that's underneath it in most cast wheels, has always been extremely efficient for those that are using them in gasoline-powered engines. The single-bladed design, like you see in, say, Holset's, some Mitsubishi designs, really was made to make a lot of torque, and they weren't made for a lot of high speed. They were mainly for tractor, rig, applications with lots of exhaust energy, but not a lot of rotational speed that's involved with it. So I was a little bit concerned when I first saw this design, because they seemed, in my mind, to revert back to a single blade design. But I think they made up for it in this one. And that is, if you look a little bit closer down here between this shiny portion, I'll zoom in a little bit closer, this shiny portion of the exhaust blade, I'm going to point to this one right here, okay? The exducer tip for it seems to have been extended a bit by about 1 millimeter or 2, okay? And the fact that they made that length of that actual inducer blade from the exducer a little bit taller. Seems to be that, I don't know if they've taken any cues from other companies or anything like that, I'm not going to speculate, but it seems as though that design kind of makes up for the fact that it's a single bladed design. So what I like about it is the fact that they've made these changes in terms of the exducer. I'm still not convinced about the inducer, but I think that's one of the reasons why there's a bit more efficiency with the compressor wheel. It's able to convert airflow to pressurized air a bit more quickly, okay? The rest of the package, I'm going to ahead and just leave the cover off for this one, is pretty standard for a GTR series. Okay, it's still using the 14 millimeter M14 by 1.5 water lines, which are going to be required at the same time, and it still uses the same GT71R cartridge, okay, as required by Garrett. I do like the fact that they still go within Garrett's specified standards, to where now they have, of course, turbine housing burst testing. This will keep the exhaust wheels inside the housing should something happen. And at the same time, they're still requiring water. Nothing dissipates like water, from what I've seen in my experience. I've used some of the air-cooled versions from other companies, but I really like water a lot better, especially for high-endurance racing. Especially when it comes to that transference of heat from the turbine housing into the cartridge. There's a write-up on this, of course, on Garrett's website that you can check out. There's an entire white paper, so I won't get into that. The rest of the specifications really is, this is a 54 millimeter inducer, 71 millimeter exducer for the compressor wheel. It's a 58 trim, typically in a 6.0 AR standard housing, which is anti-surge. And on the back, and this on all GTX models, it looks like they're using a standard 60 millimeter exhaust wheel. This is the same one that's being used on the standard GT3071R, and an option on the GT3071R, the standard cast wheel. This looks like this is going to be the standard, which is the larger 60 millimeter exhaust wheel, 84 trim, and this one particularly is a .82 AR housing T3 flange. It's a bit bulkier than what I typically like, but it really seems to be able to do the job. I prefer the .63 AR for a lot of the smaller displacement applications, anywhere from 2 liter and below. Then, of course, there's price. Price on this can, like I said, vary with the dealer. A lot of these are going for typically about anywhere from $1,600 up to about $1,800. The reason why I find that, I don't find that much surprising is because when this was first introduced to Garrett, it used to not include a turbine housing at all. They were over $1,700 when they were first introduced without a turbine housing. You literally got cartridge and compressor cover and backplate for your money. But now the $1,700 or slightly more is really going to give you the entire turbo, and I think honestly perform a better service to the customer. This is not the most unique thing, but I really like the fact that Garrett finally came out with a version that is for the masses, as opposed to worrying about upgradability. That's my last point. You cannot send your current 3071R in for upgrade, unlike the aftermarket companies, including our own. You would need to be able to completely buy another cartridge, sell your old one off, and use the money to be able to get another one, or you would have to buy this as a whole unit. So there's no part of the exchange program or anything involved in that. That's it for my review of the GTX3071R. As always, with the Speed Track Consulting, happy boosting. Take care.